Hello, joining us now is Anaya Sophia. She is a mystic, a storyteller, a soul oracle, and author of Revelatory Wisdom. She teaches workshops throughout the world and is best known for the creation of Sacred Body Awakening. Known for showing up as a trailblazing resource of unapologetic truth and transparent courage, her heart is both fierce and tender. She carries an oral message that stirs the remembrance of a continuous lineage with the feminine principle that throughout the centuries has preserved its spiritual dignity without the need for permission or recognition from any other source. Her books include Fierce Feminine Rising and The Grail King Part 2, among many other works. Anaya has come to share her ancient wisdom with us. Anaya is a conduit for healing between spirituality and our bodies so that we can wholly connect to all aspects of ourselves. And that truth that we discover is the healing tonic. Hello, Anaya. Welcome to Emotional Abuse Euphoria. Welcome, beautiful soul. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much. It's an absolute honor to be here.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about repairing the intuitive relationship and the forgiveness needed to receive the lesson. Also, the importance of taking the journey needed to heal, to comfort, to restore the nervous system, and deepen the faith. Now, that's a mouthful, and I really love how it encompasses so much that's needed to be healed here. So, what role does intuition, first of all, play in guiding us through life's challenges?
Well, I think if we've been through some kind of abusive or traumatic experience, and when we're starting to come out of it the other side, we will be able to look back at those days when this event or person or circumstance was coming our way, and we will notice indeed the intuitive system did in fact show us some red flags or give us a few internal nudges, but to also recognize this was destined for me, this was inevitable. I had to live it, to understand it, to come out the other side, to then speak to you beautiful people about it too. And that is how we help one another. I feel a beautiful ritual, a beautiful ceremony to do is to return to that intuitive self and to say beautiful words like, I acknowledge that you did indeed wave the red flags. You did indeed give me a bodily hunch. You did indeed send waves of knowing through my system. And I wish to acknowledge, appreciate, and respect deeply your intuitive hunches within me. And that I forgive myself for maybe not giving you enough attention that was needed. And if that self could be named, well, it's difficult because is it the egoic self? Because I can see now in hindsight, I had to live that. That's as clear as day. But maybe I could have lived it perhaps a little more consciously. And to recognize the intuition is speaking and acknowledge that intuition. I hear you. I see your red flag. But this is something I got to go for. So I proceed on. Maybe that's the better way of mapping it.
Okay. So, what is the spiritual purpose of the nervous system? And why is the nervous system so deeply affected by trauma?
It is the antenna. It is able to detect those more subtle ranges that perhaps our everyday persona is far too busy and activated, being engaged with other areas of life. So it could be a beautiful thermometer to reveal when very delicate, subtle energies are around and to pay attention. But of course, that very, very delicate thermometer would get severely bashed in an abusive or traumatic situation. So it's so extremely delicate and subtle, which is wonderful, the gifts it gives us from the subtle realms. But in our earth walk on this beautiful planet, it can often get tossed around like a little boat on a very tumultuous sea. So we must pay attention when we have had that kind of experience, and to refine it back to its delicate nature again by releasing the trauma, the memory, the abuse, the rough, shoddy sail across that ocean, so to speak. And there are many ways. And what I've noticed over the years, that when you're really ready to let go, that trauma can start to come out of the body in a very encouraging speed. I think, back in the day, we may have got the impression it takes years and years to come out system. I think that's probably because we were using a therapy-based modality, but now there's so many forms of somatic body work. And I think once we get that body involved, then huge, tremendous amounts can start to dissolve and leave us.
Okay, so help the nervous system through the somatic work. That's great. So tell us more.
Well, we can really go back to basics. Movements like spiraling, rocking, even stroking ourselves, even things like holding one of our thumbs. These are very, very soothing, simple methods that just give a signal to the nervous system that all is okay, it is safe, and we are in a sanctuary, we are in a refuge. And of course, it all goes back to infantile handling and movement in the womb. So it's incredible that, if you wanted to open up to your therapist, perhaps, and you might want to say, if they haven't already encouraged you to do so, let me tune into this as I start spiraling, as I start rocking either back and forth or from side to side. It is so simple, but so rapid how quick you are to get in contact with that old memory. And then just by staying in the rocking, speak to your therapist from that place and release and cry and sob and laugh or whatever it is you're going to do from that place. And I can assure you, so much more comes just by dialoguing about what happened and how you feel about what happened. So as soon as we start getting the body involved in this somatic way, we're going to be on a fast track of helping so many humans get through, well, all the things we've been going through this year.
That's exciting. Okay.
Yes, it is. It's encouraging.
Yeah. How long does this take once you start getting the body involved? You said it's so much faster than traditional therapy.
Yeah, gosh. Well, for me, it might not even be a minute. The way I've noticed myself working, it takes a good 20 minutes for me to be talking to someone, um, before I actually start getting into contact with what it is I'm talking about. So I'm talking from memory, I'm talking from the mind. She might be saying things like, okay, drop into your heart, drop into your body. And I'm like, I am. And, slowly, 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 20 minutes there, I'm finally down in the heart. Whereas if I immediately go into some sort of spiral or rocking with the eyes closed, then less than a minute, boom, I'm there. I'm speaking from the place of where that trauma, that abuse, that agitation, that grief is actually alive and dwelling.
Less than a minute
It,
for.
yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
But you see, you got to want to,
Mm.
because as soon as those eyes open up again, boop, you're back up in the head. So you have to be comfortable with, let's just say you're having an online session. Be comfortable that there's a animated bright screen in front of you, and it is very vulnerable to close your eyes, especially if the other one's eyes are still open. It's to me, it's actually even more vulnerable than one-on-one in a room. I don't know. It's just that's just how I feel about these computer screens. We don't know who's looking in. But if you need your healing, you're going to do that. You're going to just trust the one that's come forward and said, "Okay, I'm going to do this." Eyes closed, spiraling, rocking, holding, squeezing, all the little bodily movements um, that say to us, "It's okay. This is safe." So it's like self-soothing. You're giving yourself a sense of self-trust. It's okay, I'm here. We can do this. It's amazing. Even something like this, just touching the heart. It's like a little reassuring nudge. We can go there. We can open up on screen. Um, yeah, the body is just, oh my gosh, it's like a library of Alexandria. That's one of our most ancient libraries that unfortunately got burnt to the ground, but never mind. The wisdom is still within. That's what I feel.
Okay, so you touched a little bit on this. How do we begin to heal and comfort ourselves after we feel so broken from the trauma?
There is a very recognizable position which I feel is very, very strong and quick to take shape, take form. Let me see if I can show you. Um, it's the way the Mexicans would go into a shamanic trance. We just sit like this, feet flat on the floor. We fold our arms over, doesn't matter, left, right, doesn't matter, but we just sort of drop in. This is such a four-pointed shape. You've got your 2 feet on the floor, your two bum cheeks. You're holding your elbows. So this is solid. This is safe. You're resting. It's very grounded. And you just drop your head onto your arms. And body says to itself, you are safe. This is a very rooted, very strong position. And after a while, because I think it also reminds us of childhood, after a while, tremendous, great tears will start coming, especially if you're playing some rather fabulous, sad sounding piano or violin. Oh, it's all wired in our brain, you see. We feel the shape. We recognize it from childhood. We probably did this as a child to feel safe. And then, of course, in comes that beautiful emotive heart quality. And we'll be off and releasing relatively soon.
Okay, so it looked like a very stable, supported position, and the head is in a warm, even
Yeah,
almost shaded place, right? Because you're
that's
covered, and it seems very safe. It reminds me of the womb almost.
yes,
So
yes.
it just seems like it would be the perfect environment to just release instinctively.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's like you're in a little secret den of the heart. And again, I'm sure the brain, the nervous system just recognizes, oh, I'm by heart. Heart is good. Heart is loving. Heart is safe.
Okay, so
Yeah.
reconnect with the heart. You're very familiar with how the body connects to the emotions and can be used to support the entire being. So, how can Kundalini Yoga be helpful in healing after emotional abuse?
One of the things I instantly warmed to when I began my Kundalini practice was all the kriyas, all the postures that involved arms and holding the arms up for a long period of time whilst breathing or whilst chanting. So you're developing this kind of endurance in the arms. And whatever it is you build up in your arm, muscle, tone, fluidity, and flow, it's going to translate and make its way to the heart. So you could say the strength of the heart is what can enable you to hold those arms up, because it's coming from that place of courage. You can see bodybuilders and like supreme athletes be given a position like this: hold your arms up for 11 minutes. Their muscles is not what's going to hold it up. What's going to hold it up is this heart, the heart, not the muscle, because it simply must. It simply will, because it's coming from courage. So courage, breaking that word down, means strength of the heart. And that is the key that really attracted me with Kundalini yoga, because obviously a shape like that, very Christ-like. And me being me, I like that kind of stuff. So yeah, I just took to it like a duck to water. I could see the science behind it. It tapped into things like endurance, an endurance that comes from pure being rather than any sort of fortitude that you've shaped into your body because of training and exercise. My why was coming from the courage in my heart, and that is what it brought up and into my character. So yeah, it resonated with me very deeply.
It's beautiful. So we have to have courage in the face of the trauma, and we have a reason for living through it. We don't have to stay with it. We can find the strength from our hearts to literally release. Yeah? Because, yeah.
Yes,
So everything's connected.
absolutely. And I would say those of us who have had a really sizable traumatic experience, it would not surprise me at all if we are then to turn round and face fellow brothers and sisters to help them through it as well. This is what I've seen in myself. This is what I've seen in many, many people. There's a gift, strangely enough, when you turn around and help your fellow humans through a similar experience. They will hear, hang on a minute, he, she knows what they're talking about. They have been here. I can hear it in their voice. Therefore, I am going to grab on to that voice and help myself be pulled through this. It would not surprise me at all if there is a wave of awakening in trauma therapy field. It's like many of us are going through it now, so that we can turn round and help bring thousands, maybe even the millions through, who will need to be helped to be pulled through.
Okay. There is power in community. There is power in love and support of brothers and sisters worldwide. I love the way
Yes.
you describe that. You're familiar with different modalities of healing. Which is the most, um, or maybe the first to use, let's say?
Touch and healing, in my experience, is for existential trauma. So it means you're pretty much born with it. You can't put your finger on what it is and why it's there. It's just there. There's a something around you. I think I'm right in saying it's developmental trauma, which means it's a prolonged experience of trauma, so much so that it's now wired into your system and you think this is now normal life. Whereas shock trauma is obviously what it sounds like. That, I believe, may require a slightly different modality. One I don't really have the experience to speak on because I've experienced the first version. And the somatic got into me because it's a pre verbal. This kind of stuff doesn't get spoken and understood even. You can't talk about it. You don't even know what it is. It's it's just part of us. And so the somatic was a frequency and a resonance that I knew matched the place where this trauma is nested. And nested is the right word. It's so primordial what about. I knew by the practitioner's touch, the way she just lifted up my forehead very, very slowly. I knew, oh, we are so in the womb. This is the hands of a doula. This is the hands of a midwife. And so my body just went, bah, because I felt so safe and so trusted. I would say the Kundalini Yoga is a very good secondary modality to start building up and strengthening from the place that was trespassed. So you have the somatics for the trespass, and you have the Kundalini to build up a magnificent sort of warrior self in the place where the trespass once was. And because the arm work is coming from heart, that warrior will be built with courage rather than attack. It's a heartful warrior that you're building on the inside. That was my path. That's what I took. So that's really all I can speak about.
That's important to know which tool to use for what type of trauma. And I'm so glad
Yes.
that you explained that and gave us a little bit of insight. Do you have any final thoughts as we come to a close?
Yes, there is another little piece I'd drop in. Darkness. I'm doing a yoga session at the moment called the Ambrosial Hours. So we get up at 4 and we start practicing at 5 in the dark, pitch black, dark. One teeny little tea candle burning. There is something so restorative in the warm darkness. We probably think that darkness is something, it's just something when there's no light. You know, the lights go off, the candle gets blown out, and you're in the dark. And it's like, where's the light? But to actually choose to be in the dark and to establish a relationship with it in a way we enjoy the sun and the sunlight and yay, it's morning. Um, oh my gosh, again, it's that same place. It's that primordial womb. And again, skin. When you're in the dark, you can begin to imagine that you're not just breathing in through these two little holes, but you're breathing in through thousands of little holes, the pores in the skin. Because if we can imagine that we're drawing that dark light into our skin, into our brain, into our pineal and pituitary, that's the glands of the nervous system, then by golly, we're going to have another lovely little reset from just simply being conscious in the dark.
Spinning around with his
He's
little
very
hands. It's so
nice.
cute, little paws. So what you're saying, I really resonates because most of our healing happens at night when we're asleep. It's a restorative time.
Mm.
So many are more comfortable in the dark because they feel unexposed, right? The way the sunlight would. I mean, yes, we love to play in the sun and
Yes.
live our days in the sun, but at night, you have a secret, safe, quiet place, and that's how we sleep, and that's how we refresh. So everything you're saying has rings so true, and it's very inviting to try that with the skin and the techniques that you mentioned.
Yes,
Okay, so
yes,
can you
yes.
please tell us a little bit about uh, the tradition that you are speaking from and that you teach from, so that the audience has a bit more familiarity with where you've gotten your wisdom?
I am on a path. There is a very strong, straight line within me. And that could be classified as a Christ path, a mystical path, a Gnostic path. So I look very much and feel very much to, the Jesus of 2000 years ago. But I'm talking about just him. I'm talking about him. I'm talking about Mary Magdalene. I'm talking about the beautiful early ones that hung around with him. And that quality, that what he's speaking of. I'm interested in what those young people came into contact with and couldn't help but serve with their entirety. So that's my inner light. I've got a torch. I'm slowly making my way that way. So I'm interested in all ways that bring that to another person, whether it's prayer, whether it's beautifully spoken word, whether it's dark spaces and, oral teachings in the dark, whether it's somatic touch and movement and rocking and getting into that place through the body. Everything that comes is just because I've explored doing it myself. I've got a very highly developed imagination, I confess. But the thing is, and this is the strange thing, what I see, I do. I actually try it out. And I would say 9 times out of 10, it is incredible. I pay a huge amount of attention to my inspiration, to the things I just write like a crazy woman. But then I reread it and go, okay, yeah, all right, I'm going to try that. And I think this wisdom would come to us all if only we didn't say, my imagination, silly old me.
Mm.
I think
Okay,
it's like streaming through us. Some of us pay attention.
so open yourself up to the messages that come from places that you might not know everything about. It's okay to not know,
Yeah,
and it's okay to trust.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, we all have these gifts, and if each one of us could tap into them, that is also incredibly healing. So I love that you've offered us this tea candle in the middle of our darkness as we try to find our path.
Yeah,
Okay,
beautiful.
okay, so for those who feel like they are lost, Anaya is offering a free gift called In Times of Lostness.
Absolutely.
So you can click that link and go and explore, and you will find some answers within.
There's a poet called David White, and there's one line that started me off on this transmission. And he said something along the lines of, in the dark forest, when you think you have lost your way, take a look around, because all the trees know exactly where you are. And
That's
that was my
beautiful.
little aha moment. Because when we are lost and we are in that dark place, there are many beings on the inside knowing exactly where we are, because it is their duty to always oversee everything. So we might not recognize ourselves. We may not recognize what we've become, the kinds of crazy that we're repeating in our own minds, and the depression that we're clearly spiraling into. but there are many who have eyes on. And if we turn to them, be able to lift us out of what seems like an inevitable descent.
Oh, how powerful and encouraging. As we go through our journey and we don't know exactly where we're going, we are supported. There are those that know more than us or set to be there with us to help us on that journey. So we're
Absolutely.
never alone.
Absolutely. And I would like to add just another tuppenny worth. When I started to contemplate all of this, I was imagining loads of humans, loads of like inner humans, my team, so to speak. As I get older, and as I go through everything that a woman goes through, if you know what I mean, to tap into her wisdom, i.e., the menopause, I realized, hang on a second, there are many kinds of faces looking at me. There are dog faces, cat faces, tree faces, birds of prey faces. Our team is made up of more than just human faces. We all have our designated little team of other beings. And you got some with us, and you got some within us. Wow. And it was like a face plant moment. Oh my God, how could I have missed all this help?
Thank you so much for sharing this with us. Be aware of that. You are so very much, as long as you are surrounded by life,
Yeah.
nature, all of creation, seen and unseen, we are never alone and we are supported. Thank you so much, Anaya.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm glad we got to do this in exactly this right, beautiful moment.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.